Hi guys, my name is Nonema Tigela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Diyagodola guys, ubona senidibana nami senithwele just because diyagodola because benibone ku live ndingathwelanga. My mother used to do this ngenwele zakhe. Zazinkulu ke kunezami. That's why you see me doing this week because ndiyamkhumbula. And go April it was her birthday, 26. So I've been thinking about her a lot. Now she passed away in 2011. Go May. Oh, not namhlanje. She passed away in 7 May, if I'm correct. I'll tell you now. So I've been missing my mom a lot, Shem, this year, cool, but now because it was recently her birthday, I've been a bit of emotional and stuff, yeah, bo. So now this was her like zinto zakhe ke is nala green zinto zakhe ke wayezithanda ke akhipha inwele zakhe kanje and I look like her ke somewhere somehow. Okay, that's what people say. Maybe yeah, that's what people let me put it that way. That's what people say, but ngifana naye. So yeah, that's why you see. I remember it was no, it was not the 7th. It was on a Friday nge-6 because wangcwatywa Saturday nge-21. Yes, ngoMay 2011. It was on a Friday nge-6 ka-May 2011. I remember wasweleka between quarter to 7 and 7 p.m. The way I got sick, guys, isisu saluma kwakungathi kunentambo zikagesi ezikhathwayo. So ukuve makukhathwa intambo zikagesi kwakuye ngathi kuyenzeka into enjalo la phakathi kum from yo angiyazi into engangigula yona ngagula kunokuphuma kungenhla ngezansi yonke into nje. There was something. Yes, started from quarter to 7 until 7 p.m. Look, out of nowhere ndavela ndagula ndayongena etoilet. I was doing nje yonke into ngingazi ukuthi ngitheni. After that kwaphela ngathi khange ngibe khona ndaba right as I was before quarter to 7 p.m. ngaba right, but kwaba nento ethi andabi like ndaba down. I didn't know ndaba down man, ukubone angayazi bakwenzekeni. Then around 9 something said please switch off the phone. That switch off all my phones and then I slept. Ngavuka kusasa nginama-missed call kamalume wami amaningi, but for some weird reason I did not want to call back my uncle. I called my sister, her phone was off. I called my cousin, phone was off. While I was busy doing this thing of calling other people other than the one that was calling, and I don't know why he calls, and I answer the call, and then he's going straight on the matter. Your mother passed away last night around 7. Sure. So this week, I think I started last week. If you saw me wearing this, it's because I've been missing my mom, and it's been that week. It's been that week that she passed away. I wanted to be sure about the exact date, day and date, but I know ukuthi these were difficult times for me ngoMay ka-2011. It was a Friday. Anyway, asikho lapho ke sithetha ngecase kaSenzo Meyiwa. And right now, I want us to talk about today's cross-examination by Advocate Zitulele Nxumalo, which was less about a dramatic courtroom shouting and more about slowly pulling apart the state structure beam by beam. And he successfully done so, in my view, in my opinion. His focus was very clear: expose gaps in police procedure, isolate assumptions from proven facts, and force the court to confront how much of the state's narrative depends on inference instead of hard documentary proof. That is what Nxumalo was successful on. The most important thing Nxumalo appeared to do today was attack the reliability chain around the cell phone evidence and detention records. He kept cycling back to one uncomfortable point. If a cell phone was truly recovered from an accused while in custody, where is the clean documentary trail proving that discovery from start to finish? That is what Nxumalo was fighting about. That sounds simple, but legally it is devastating, because once the defense establishes uncertainty in the chain of custody, several problems emerge simultaneously. Who found the phone? When exactly was it found? Was it booked into SEPS 13 correctly? Was the discovery recorded in the OB? Was the accused informed? Was the exhibit sealed? Who handled it before the download? Could contamination or reconstruction have happened later? Nxumalo's style is very important here. He rarely rushes to accuse witnesses directly of fabrication. Instead, he boxes them into admitting procedural uncertainty. That is much more dangerous because it sounds reasonable rather than theatrical. His cross-examination seemed designed through around three major themes. Firstly, procedural impossibility. That's what he dealt with, firstly. He repeatedly pushed the witness toward admitting that, according to normal SEPS procedure, certain things should have existed in writing if the state's version were accurate. The defense has been building this theme for days around the missing ops, SEPS 14 cell registers, SEPS 13 exhibit records, and SEPS 22 property documentation. Today, Nxumalo sharpened that further by suggesting the alleged cell phone recovery does not comfortably fit into the documented station processes described by station officials. That matters because the state wants the phone evidence to appear organic and reliable. Nxumalo wants it to look inserted into the narrative after the fact. And honestly, this is where the state has a growing problem. Whether they like it or not, they are having issues. They are having issues. The more witness describe proper procedure in detail, the more the court begins noticing when those procedures are absent in the specific case. Mind this because it's going to be very important for later, okay? The more the witness described proper procedures in detail, the more the court begins noticing when those procedures are absent in the specific case. Note that. That contradiction is becoming one of the defense's strongest weapons. The second one that he dealt with today, separating communication from conspiracy. Nxumalo has historically been very sharp on cell phone evidence because he understands its limits. Cell phone data can show contact between people. It usually cannot prove what was said. He has used this line before against analysts like Gideon House. The same strategy resurfaced again in spirit today. The defense position is basically, yes, people may have communicated, but communication alone is not proof of murder. This is critical because the state often tries to build cumulative suspicion. Calls plus proximity plus alleged confessions plus witness statements, which is equal to conspiracy. Nxumalo keeps trying to break those links apart individually so the chain no longer feels inevitable. The third point, the third thing that he did, exposing institutional discomfort. One of the most fascinating things today was the courtroom dynamic itself, especially the interruptions, clarifications, and moments where momentum shifted away from Nxumalo's line of questioning. This has become a recurring pattern in the trial, yonke nje, and we know by whom. Whenever Nxumalo starts building a long procedural sequence, especially around records, station processes, or missing documentation, there tends to be visible tension in court because those questions force witness into technical territory where contradictions become easier to detect. The defense frustration appears to be that they are trying to build a cumulative inference, missing records, incomplete registers, uncertain reporting lines, undocumented exhibit movements, and inconsistent police recollections. Individually, each issue may look small. Together, they create doubt about investigative integrity. That is the real battlefield now. Not simply who killed Senzo, but whether the investigation preserved evidence in a manner the court can trust. And that is why Judge Rata is mad today. That is why today Judge Rata is mad. Now, Advocate George Baloyi, meanwhile, seems increasingly dependent on keeping the broader narrative emotionally coherent rather than allowing the defense to atomize every procedural step. The prosecution's challenge is that once the trial becomes heavily technical, the defense often gains ground because criminal procedure is unforgiving about gaps. Another major highlight was Nxumalo's continued attempt to frame the investigation as reactive instead of organically evidence-led. I loved that about what he did there. Now, that distinction matters a lot. The defense theory increasingly suggests the police first settled on suspects, which is true. Which is true. Secondly, then built corroboration afterward, which is also true. Rather than discovering evidence naturally through clean investigative progression. Exactly. These things, they happened. We are not just, it's not something that we're smoking, guys. They happened. That is why every missing register suddenly becomes important. Every late produced document becomes important. Every unexplained chain of custody gap becomes important. Nxumalo is essentially arguing that this is not just sloppy paperwork. It may reflect a deeper reliability problem. And strategically, he is also protecting accused number 4, Mthokoziseni Mapisa, from being absorbed into the broader group guilt narrative. He has consistently tried to isolate his client from collective assumptions by arguing there is weak direct placement evidence. Communication evidence is ambiguous. Witness statements contain contradictions, and the state often relies on association rather than direct proof. And Nxumalo kasana kadlali. Now, the nuclear reality after today is this. Nxumalo is no longer merely cross-examining witnesses. He is cross-examining the architecture of the investigation itself. And the danger for the state is that procedural credibility, once weakened, affects everything downstream. Confessions, cell phone evidence, exhibit handling, witness reliability, and even timelines. That is why these boring register questions are actually explosive. Because in criminal trials, paperwork is often the skeleton holding the whole body upright. Once the skeleton starts cracking, every other piece of evidence begins wobbling too. And Judge Rata Mokgoatleng knows all of that. Oh, he knows it. He knows all of that, Gesan. Where he is seated, he knows Uguti. Once Nxumalo take a stand, he does not play. And that is why Judge Rata was very uncomfortable. Because Yena, as Judge Rata, he has made a choice. He has taken a side, and then his side is not excellently doing great. They are not doing well. They are doing very bad, actually. They are doing very, very bad, and it's not nice for Judge Rata. That is why we are where we are today. So what are your thoughts when it comes to Nxumalo and his cross-examination? And I love how Nxumalo conducts his cross-examination. The way he is so polite, no one can accuse him of anything. He is very polite, respectful, and he makes sure, but surgical, Gesana brothers. Now, our Black Mamba does the things. What are your thoughts? I want to hear your views from the comment section. Please type down everything that you feel, Okoti. Wow, what a wow. What a wowza. Now, everything became chaos, Kesana. Everything became chaos after Nxumalo handed over to Usibanda, but I'll talk about that in the next video. Thank you so much. I'll see you. Bye-bye.